Thank you. Thank you, Jacob. Find all possible values. Okay, and the answer we get here is no solution. The answer is correct, but why? So no one is typing the why? Could anybody tell us why? Who was that? I'm sorry, I didn't get your name. Are you typing it? Hello, who is that? Who is that? I give the answer, no solution. Is it Orlando? Brandon? Ashong? Raphael? Come on, guys, who is that? So if you don't know why, if I say your answer is wrong, if I don't give you points, how would you argue with your teacher? What's the reason to support your answer? Yeah, what's the reason for you to support your answer? Hello? Is everybody there? Is everybody there?
Mm-hmm.
So who was that person that gave the reason? And then, okay, there's no solution because this absolute value makes every number positive in this case. The answer is a -3, which should have been +3 with, okay. Thank you, Raphael, for typing this answer. I'm going to copy your answer and put it here. So please forgive me. I will critique it. Okay, I will critique your answers. This is, and I appreciate it. I appreciate to do that. Okay, so in this case, I'm almost like an English teacher. Okay, if my correction is questionable, please don't hesitate. Okay. So when you're in your calculus class, in a lot of cases, you have to be able to write complete sentences, logical, using the language of mathematics to make your case. You understand? Because you're going to learn a lot of theorems, you're going to apply those theorems, definitions, and so on and so forth to make your case. Okay. Right? And Farouz contributed an answer over there. So now let's look at this answer by Raphael. Thank you so much, Raphael. Okay. There's no solution. So that part is correct. Okay. So when I'm just showing you how I would read your question, read your answer. Okay. Because the absolute value makes every number positive. The absolute value makes every number positive. When I see that statement, I would do this. Okay, when I see that statement, okay, when I see that statement, I will mark the absolute value makes every number positive. You're saying every number. Does that include 0? the absolute value of 0 is positive. See, here I will have a reason to -1. Okay? You have the right answer. That's no problem. But your statement has loopholes. Your statement has loopholes. Okay? And in this case, the answer is a -3. The answer is a -3. In this case, the answer is a -3. What answer to what? Right? So here, to me, it's not clear. In this case, the answer is a -3. What answer? You're talking about this answer, the answer to the equation? Or you're talking about the answer? What is it? The answer is a -3. You said there's no solution. Then you tell me the answer. In this case, the answer is -3. So I don't understand what you're trying to say. Okay, unclear. Which should have been +3, which should have been +3. What should have been +3? With absolute value. Which should have been +3. So this should have been is unclear. You guys understand? You guys understand? I don't understand. So I will probably subtract 2 points from this. Another subtract 1. This one, what is the what is your ground? What is your foundation for it? It should have been +3. Do you guys understand what I mean? I'm a math teacher. I teach mathematics. So I read with mathematical context in my mind, mathematical grammar, and also I use English as well. But no matter what language you use, when I read this paragraph, this student is not going to get the full credit. I'm sorry, Raphael. Okay. Do you see that? Do you think we can correct this answer? We can make a correction. The first is definitely a wrong statement. This place I subtract 1, right? This place that where I subtract 1. This piece, I know it's a wrong statement. You just made a wrong statement. You said absolute value makes every number positive. Do you guys understand what I meant? So when you put down your answers on the paper in print, okay? And thank you for doing that. You have to make sure every word, every sentence that makes the whole of your statement is correct. You cannot leave any loopholes. When you have loopholes, we will see the loopholes and we will have to take points away. Do you guys follow me? That's our job. That's our job. So how do you correct it? How do you make it clear? So in this case, the answer is a -3. What do you mean the answer? There's no answer because you said there's no solution, right? What do you mean the answer is a -3? Right? Do you guys understand what I meant? How would you have corrected it? Do you mean the answer is the output? It seems, right? But it's not clear here. It's not clear here. And Farouz has an answer here. Farouz has an answer here, okay? So let's look at what Farouz says. Farouz says the absolute value of X okay? So this piece would just be the absolute value of X is greater than or equal to 0 for any real number X. What do you think of that? That's the reason he gave. That's the reason he gave. He gave us. What do you think of that? Okay. So we got two answers, right? So let me critique it. I have critique, right? The first one. Yeah, Farouz just repeated his answer on the chat. The first one, there's no solution. Okay, thank you for the effort to mention this because the absolute value makes every number positive. Okay, so if I were you, I would say no solution. If I use your structure of sentence, right? Because the absolute value of any number is at least 0, not a positive, because absolute value is what? Absolute value of any number is greater than or equal to 0. So this statement is a common mistake. It's a common mistake. A lot of people say the absolute value number is always positive. That's wrong. I remember I quizzed you on this. I quizzed you guys on this, didn't I? The absolute value of a number is a positive, is a wrong statement. Why? Because the absolute value of 0 is 0. 0 is not a positive. Do you guys hear me? Wrong statement. Very common. The absolute value of a number is positive. Very common wrong statement. It's wrong today. It was wrong. It's wrong 500 years ago. It will be wrong 10,000 years from now. And years in between. You guys follow me? Because the absolute value of number is always, you use the word non-negative. Non-negative. Can you guys say the word non-negative? What does non-negative include? Non-negative includes 0 or positive. So the number, the kind of number we have positive number, negative number, 0. 0 is neutral. 0 is neither negative nor positive. So if you include 0 in the category, it's no longer positive. It will be non-negative. If you include 0 with negative number, it will be called non-positive. Do you guys follow me? You have to use the right word. You have to use the right word. So this is the why you're losing that 1 point, and you probably will if you get me. I'm sorry. Okay. And in this case, the answer is a -3. What answer is -3? It's not clear. Okay. So what would you do? So the first statement, the positive. So when you make these corrections, okay. So these are the corrections. If I follow your structure of sentences, I would say no solution because the absolute value of any number is at least 0. As a matter of fact, I can just end there. You could have ended there, but you added in this case, the answer is -3. It's entirely redundant. It's entirely redundant. Okay, so I hope nobody take this personal. because I'm looking for someone to help me to make this interaction with you guys complete. And I appreciate this interaction because everybody will learn from this process, including myself, right? Is that you, what is that one powerful statement you can use that you truly understand, right? And then you say, which should have been positive 3. Because this is an if statement, there's no should have been, okay? The better way to explain this is that you have an input, right? You want the output to be -3. You want the output to be -3 because this statement reads, if the absolute value of an unknown number is -3. Right? So that's in the context of the input. You know, then you understand why I separate input and output. Because without that context, your answer is just not clear. People read your sentence, they get confused. I get confused. Because when I read it, I need to pretend that I don't understand what you're saying. I mean, when I read it, I need to read it as it is. Okay, I cannot inject my assumption in it, right? So what will be the shortest, the most powerful answer to this? Right? So if to correct your sentence, I would just use this one. And better yet, use Farouq's answer. Use Farouq's answer. The question is that we have talked about this. We talked about these this sentence since several weeks ago. This is that one single most powerful statement you can ever make in a lot of the situations involving absolute value, right? Because the absolute value of any number is at least 0. What does that mean? If this is always true, it makes it equal to -3 impossible, isn't it? Do you guys understand? Because if this is always true, it means the absolute value of any number to be equals to -3 is impossible. Do you guys hear that? If this is always true, its opposite will never be true. Is that right? Do you guys understand? Do you guys hear that logic? If something is true, the opposite of that something will never be true. Is that right? Do you guys, does that make sense to you? And this is one of the cases in its opposite. Do you hear that logic? Yeah? So that's why this sentence is sufficient. There's no need for you to make those other statements. Okay, there's no need to make all these other things you only confuse people. So what we need to do here, we need to learn to answer the question just to the point, not too much, not too little. Do you guys understand? And you have to use every word very carefully. You cannot just make a statement just casually. The absolute value makes every number positive. You need to think about it. The absolute value does not make every number positive. It does not make 0 positive, right? So when you write down that words, when I ask you to write down, you better think about every word you put down. Do you guys follow me? When your professor asks you to write down, whether you're professor from El Camino College or from 4-year colleges, UC Berkeley, UCLA, Pomona, anywhere you go, when you write down, you better think about every word you put down. Because you will be judged, your work will be judged. You will not be judged. Thank God, that's God's job. your work will be judged by your professors. Do you understand? That's just part of their job. It's part of our jobs. Okay, so you need to be very careful. So what does this sentence imply? What does this sentence imply? Imply the absolute value. You don't say absolute value makes every number positive. You say the absolute value of a number. This piece is read as absolute value of. Okay, so we need to get the grammar correct. The absolute value of X. You don't use makes. All right. I hope everybody learns something from this process, and I especially appreciate those of you who contribute to this process, because without this interaction, the live lectures would not be worth the time and effort of the live lectures, right? I could have just put up videos for you to watch. So this is the precious moment that we have these discussions. So what you need to do is you need to understand. Remember, at the beginning we review this, right? The absolute value of any number. So you can also read this as the absolute value of any number. Okay, so let me put it here. You guys write it down, please. I want you guys to write this down word for word. The absolute value of any number is at least 0. What is the meaning of any? No exception. No exception. If the absolute value of any number is at least 0, right? The absolute value of any number is at least 0, and 0 is larger than -3, right? So equals to -3 will not be possible, right? So the absolute value of a number equals to -3 will not be possible. So you have to use the right word and the phrases when you're making these statements. You guys follow me? Thank you for you guys' contribution. All right, did you get it? You don't need to say more than, you don't need to say more than that. You don't need to say more than that. This is sufficient. But the question is, do you really understand this sentence? This sentence is also in the graph. It's also in the graph, right? So let me put up the graph again. I have students that come to me and they learn these graphs, right? They have learned these graphs, and they can, they learn the graph, they learn about the V shape and all of that stuff. They memorize them pretty well. But when it comes to use it, like in this situation, they don't know how to use it. This graph is saying the same thing as this sentence. This graph is saying the same thing as this sentence. What does it say? We talk about the domain. Domain is a horizontal span. Domain is a horizontal span. So you look at this box, right? They're going to extend in both directions indefinitely. Keep going. It's going to go out of the box, right? So what are the outputs? What are the outputs? The output is from 0. The smallest output is 0, and the rest of the output will be higher and higher. Do you guys see that? Right? The rest of the output will be higher and higher. Do you guys understand? So this picture tells you, no matter what is the input, from 0 to positive infinity, from 0 to negative infinity, the output will be positive or 0. So here's the positive piece. Here's the positive piece, and that's the 0 piece. Isn't that picture is telling you that? Yeah? Do you guys see that? So this picture tells you domain and range. We have students that come to calculus class, they know the V shape, and they cannot do anything else about it. They still lose points. Okay, just because you know that graph doesn't mean you know how to use it. Right? But the key is to use it correctly, use it properly. That's what makes that's 3 sentences narrative very, very important. You must make sure you understand it. Okay, so next, what is the meaning of the absolute value of x equals to -3? What does that mean? What does it mean? This is -3. This horizontal line is -3 because we want the output to be -3. The output is -3. You can see the -3 lines and the absolute value and the curve, they have no touch. What does it mean there's no touch? What does it mean there's no touch? What does it mean there's no touch?
It means that it's not touching any of the points within.
It means there's no input to produce the desired output. That's no touch. Because once there's a touch, the point of the point of intersection will tell you the input and output. It will tell you the input and exactly output. You guys understand? It back to the definition of function. You guys get it? So all of these related to the function. In calculus classes, you deal with a function and function only. You guys get it? You can open any calculus textbook right now. So you constantly need to think about function. How is this concept related to function? That one powerful statement of definition of function is it. That is it. Okay, so in this case, when there's no touch, no point of intersection, meaning in this case, there's no input for the output. You can also say the other argument is that the other argument of because you can say okay, -3 is outside the range of absolute value of x. That would also be a good argument. Because for any function, there's a domain, there's a range. Anything outside the range, no solution. Do you follow me? That's why it's so important for us to know domain and range. Okay, so Jacob, you want to comment again after my explanation?
No, I was just going to say that the reason I was going to say that for the no touch, I was simply going to say like it's not really touching any of the points for absolute value of x, but you already said that, so it
No touch is just the superficial phenomena, but you have to dig deeper. What it means of touch, right? Touching means what? If I have a line that touching it, what does that mean? We have gone over those. We've gone over this, right? This is touching. What does that mean? In the case of touching, what does that mean? Remember we talked about these 2 points? What does that mean? In the case of touching, in this case, when input is 3, the output is 3. It tells you for this input, there's one output. The output is 3, the desired is 3. On this point, when input is -3, the output is 3. Right? So you have 2 different inputs that produces the same desired output. So it still go back to the domain range, right? 3 is in the range. So you have a solution. Right? Do you guys get it? So even though the definitional function is just one sentence, it has encompassed everything we have learned so far, and it will be for all of those things you deal with in calculus classes, plural. That's why I make this course function the theme of this course. All right. So next time when people ask you about function, what would you be thinking? You immediately think of the definition. You immediately think of the definition and what it implies. Right? The basic functions and the what it can produce from these operations. But all of this function produced, composed, adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, compositions in many different ways. And they produce functions, and all of those functions have the same, they will comply with that same definition, function. That's the power of that definition. Very powerful, very powerful. Okay, but unfortunately, in a lot of cases, then we give that definition to our students, and then they never get used. So this semester, I make a commitment. I want to make sure you guys use it every single moment, every opportunity we get. And you need to commit yourself to do that too. Okay? I will be gone for the rest of the semester from Wednesday next week. But you guys need to commit yourself to use that concept every possible opportunity. That's how you get better. That's how you make the points. That's how you make the grades. I'll tell you the truth. Okay? If there's any trick, that is a trick. That is a trick. All right. I hope I made myself clear. The things that we just reviewed, how important they are. Right? And when students ask professors, what are you going to test us? We keep telling you, we're going to test you guys the basic concepts. What is the basic concept now? Do you know what's the basic concept now? Do you? Function. And the use of it and the application of it. Right? So you're more or less like a lawyer. Right? For sure, if you are a lawyer, the case you're going to deal with, right, and it's going to make you the big bucks, is not going to be exactly the same as the existing cases in the past. But you have to be able to apply the code of law, which require you to be very good at knowing the codes of law in order to apply them to different situations that you're going to encounter. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to you? You guys, I know you guys, I don't know how many of you are going to be lawyers, but if you do STEM, but most likely you're not going to be a lawyer. But very much similar to a position of a lawyer. Right? Applying the code of law to your cases, right? So that's what it is. So now let's look at number 6, right? So in this study, I want you to recognize that this sentence is very powerful, very, very powerful. If you learn how to use this sentence, you truly understand it, you can use this sentence to score 10, 20 points for yourself. Okay? If you don't use this, if you don't know how to use it, and you'll be asked why, then you probably will lose a point here and there. Okay, so let's look at number 6. With that said and done, I hope number 6 will do better. The absolute value of x is 0. And just remember, this is an if statement. This is an if statement. If. Why did I give an overview on Monday about if statement alone? Right? Because that if statement, understanding that this kind of shorthand notation, this is shorthand notation. Okay, it implies it's an if statement. This if statement is where you start thinking. That's the point where you start thinking. Okay, so if absolute value is 0, the absolute value of a unknown number is 0. Find all possible values for x such that that statement is true. Okay, and the function interpretation would be that we don't know the input. You can see it's all the same rhythm, isn't it? Do you guys see the same rhythm? It's just different rules. The output is 0. So what input will cause you produce an output equals 0 under this rule of function? That's what's really asking you for. Do you guys understand? And this is the kind of understanding I want you guys to acquire. So automatically, when you see solve for, you automatically know what it means. If, and know this entire sentence. That's why I'm doing this over and over and over and over and over again. Because I want you guys to do it over and over and over and over and over again. That's it. There's only 2 kinds of sentences in mathematics, right? So it's pretty boring. Or you can say it's pretty monotone. But the rules are different, right? You can have sine. You have a cosine. You can have tangent, cotangent. You can have different rules in this place. Do you guys understand? You may have different rules in this place that will make different questions. But all the questions you're going to encounter is either giving you input, you look for output, or you give an output looking for input. This is the only 2 kinds of questions you're going to have in the entire mathematical questions you will encounter in your academic career. I guarantee you. So if you understand the grammar, the consistency of the structure, you just have to learn how to deal with the different rules. And of course, it comes with different techniques, algebraic skills. All right. So what is the solution for number 6? Did I make myself understand or did I confuse you? Yeah? So what is the solution to it? Hello? Did I scare you away?
I want to say that the answer could be 0, but I feel like I'm wrong. Like I'm really wrong on that one, to be honest.
You said the answer could be 0.
But I think it's wrong.
Okay. Why you're wrong? Next. Raphael? So why do you think X could be, the solution could be 0 and you immediately tell yourself it's wrong? But why do you think this is possibly 0 to start with? How would you check you're right or wrong?
Well, you would want to look at the graph of.
We're looking for input such that the output is 0. When input is 0, the output is 0. So why are you wrong? And Farouz mentioned the graph. Certainly. You're right. And you said you were wrong. Right? Isn't that a little sad? But it's okay. That's why we need to learn the why. We are looking for the input such that the output is 0. What input would that be? That input has to be 0, right? Jacob, do you see that?
Yeah, now I see.
And then you immediately said I was wrong. The answer is 0. Right, so in this case, X is 0. How do you verify? Farouz just give us a you know, you can use the graph to verify that too. Right? So in this case, I can remove the that piece. There's a point on the graph. There's a point on the graph right here. What does this point tell us? What does this point tell us? This point tells us when input is 0, the output is 0 too. Vice versa, when the output is 0, the input is what? 0. We know output, we're looking for input. Do you guys see that? Do you guys see that?
Yes.
So are you right or wrong?
I'm right.
You were right. over here. How about everybody else? I hope my passionate speech didn't scare you guys away. It meant to leave you an impression, mean to help you to understand. Okay. Did I scare you?
That's how I think sometimes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I won't be scaring you for too long. All right, basic 5. 11, 12, 13, 14. The absolute value of x less than 0. Number 12 less than or equal to 0. Less than -3. Faruz, I must have scared my student. I'm so sorry.
I have a chat to respond, Professor.
I'm sorry?
I have a response on the chat.
It could motivate us.
Yes,
It
instead
could
of
motivate you.
yes, instead of scaring, I get engaged. Oh, let me challenge the professor logic and interact and defend my logic, so on and so forth. Fear is good, but it shouldn't stay there. It should bring us to the level of motivation, interaction.
Well, I hope so. I hope I didn't scare them. I hope I didn't scare them away. Okay. Thank you for your support. But please forgive me. I think I was just a little bit too excited. Okay. So now look at these 4 questions. Right, they're rather unusual from other questions, right? They're not the same as the other questions. Because the other questions you can do them, you can be on autopilot, in other words, right? On basic number 5, from number 1 through number 10, you can pretty much on autopilot, right? Yes, do you guys follow me?
Mm-hmm.
You can also autopilot. You know what I meant. And these questions meant to challenge you and also tells you, do not be on autopilot. Do not be on autopilot. It's very easy to be on the autopilot. This is the autopilot I meant. A lot of our students just get addicted to it. They're on the autopilot and they can only do the autopilot. And that will be very, very bad for you. That will be very, very bad for you. Okay, and these questions are meant to challenge you. Can you still be on that autopilot? Can you still be on that autopilot? Do you guys understand what I meant? For example, if you're on the autopilot, you might say, oh, what is that? A number larger than 0 and smaller than 0. Right? That's the consequence of autopilot. And what do you make of it? This is a typical thing I see. Okay? What do you make of it? What do you make of it? Okay. Let's talk about this a little later. What does this mean? What does this mean? This means that if, okay, the absolute value of an unknown number is negative. Less than 0 means negative, right? Find all possible values for x. In other words, this is just to understand what it means. We don't know the input. But we know the output. The output has to be negative. And we're looking for all the possible inputs so that the output will be negative. Do you understand that question? So what will be the solution? What will be the solution? If you still want to be on the autopilot, think about its meaning. Think about its meaning. What I found that in my teaching career, a lot of people, like I used to be, you know, when I was a student, at their moments I was on autopilot. Of course I have those experiences too, right? Because sometimes it feels kind of secure. I have a format, I just follow it. As a student, all those many years ago, I have moments and many moments that I just feel, oh, I got the format, I just follow it. I feel safe, feel secure, unless you hit the wall. Until we hit the wall, until I hit the wall. Did that happen to me? Of course it did happen to me, right? Everything you have experienced, most likely I have experienced myself. Okay, but because I experienced moments long before you were born, so I get an opportunity to reflect on it. Okay, so those reflections now is part of my teaching, right? So while being autopilot is sometimes very comforting, but sometimes could it really get us in trouble? Could really get us in trouble. Because once we start to be on autopilot, we forgot the true meaning of the function we're considering. Okay? And we are indulging ourselves with these symbols and a certain format. So the meaning is thrown out of the window. It happened to me before. I'm sure it might have happened to you as well. Because we're all humans, right? It's like we're tying our shoelace, right? We tie our shoelace a certain way. We always tie our shoelace that certain way, right? Okay. So why in this case, the autopilot will get us in trouble? Because it does. Okay. But on the other hand, if we understand the meaning, right? We understand the absolute value of any number is always at least 0. If this is true, what does it mean for its opposite? If this is always true, what does it imply for its opposite? What is the opposite? What is the opposite of this statement? It's time to that we learn some what's the opposite of it? What's the opposite that the absolute value is greater than or equal to 0 for any number x, right? This is non-negative always. What's the opposite of this statement? If this is true, its opposite is false, right? Do you follow me? What will be its opposite? The opposite is that the absolute value is less than 0 for some x. So if this is always true, what does that mean? Will never be true, right? You guys follow me? What is it? What does it mean it's never true? This guy has no solution. Okay, so let me put these on the think out loud part. Okay. I haven't been using this. Think out loud. Okay, so all of these are the different thoughts you can think of. And you can also think of the graph. Okay, I would say the graph is the most visual if you understand it. Okay, the graph is the most visual if you understand it. If you don't understand it, you certainly would not know how to use it, right? So the other perspective, you know that from the graph, we know that for any real number, right? If you have an input, will any part of the graph be underneath the x-axis? Less than 0 means any negative number, right? If you just keep drawing negative numbers, for example, less than 0, right? Less than 0. Less than 0, right? So if I keep drawing different negative numbers, if I just draw negative numbers arbitrarily, will any one of these red broken lines ever touch the curve? And all of them are negative numbers. Do you guys follow me? Will any one of these ever touch the curve? Will ever touch our V-shaped form?
No.
Never, right? That's the meaning of output less than 0. No touch means what? No input, right? Do you guys understand?
No solution.
No solution. No solution in this case, that there's no input such that the output is negative. Do you guys understand? That's the meaning. All right? As a teacher, if I don't understand the meaning, I cannot be standing here teaching. For student, if you don't understand the meaning, you're not going to make the score. You're not going to make the grade, period. So isn't that understanding the meaning most important? And in a lot of the cases, if you truly understand the meaning, the answer is already staring at you. That's why I spend a lot of time to explain to you the meaning, the meaning, the meaning. I hope you get that. Okay, sometimes my lecture may sound like I'm crazy, right? Maybe I am. For every question you encounter, you must investigate what it means until every detail is understood. In that case, your answer will always be reliable, sought after. Okay. So what will be the solution to that one? No solution. Why? This is that all-powerful statement to answer why. Excuse me. Okay. Does everybody follow me? That's number 11. That's number 11. Did everybody get it?
Yes.
Now, what if you're on the autopilot? What if you are on the autopilot? Right? What if you are on the autopilot? Because I see this very often. A lot of students just get onto that. Okay, I totally see myself could have done that if I'm one of you, if I'm this as young as you are. Okay, the autopilot will get you to 0 less than x and less than 0. What does that mean? What does that mean? It means that there's a number between, there's a number that larger than 0 and smaller than 0 at the same time, right? Because this less than this means and, right? Remember we talked about it yesterday? Is there a number that can be greater than 0 and smaller than 0 at the same time? Does such number exist? Use your common sense. Is there a number exists? Is this such a number that number is larger than 0 and smaller than 0 at the same time? Does such a number exist?
No.
This number doesn't exist, right? So this also tells you what? This also tells you what? No solution. So you may proceed with your steps, but you have to think about its meaning. Still, the meaning is essential. Okay, so forgive me, I need to step out to get something to drink. I'm about to lose my voice.
You can work on the 12, 13, 14 while you're.
Yes, please. Farouz, if you could lead the class for a couple minutes.
Couple of minutes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, guys, and I hope I didn't scare anybody away. And
So
yeah.
No problem. I'm
Okay,
going
I'll
to
be
play
right
your
back.
role, and Jacob hopefully play my role, and we motivate the class how we can answer this question easily.
I hope I have motivated the class. I hope so. Okay. And do you want to share the screen? I'm going to give you the share screen.
This is not really. This is your screen is good. I think Professor, everybody is seeing the questions, and I just talk about it.
Okay. So just give me a couple minutes. I'll be right back.
Sure. So good morning, class. How are you doing? And as as you notice, she's one of the best from point of my experience as a tutor, as an experienced tutor. I wish I had her for my classes when I was taking those calculus, pre-calculus classes. So anyway, coming back here to question number 12. Jacob, would you like to volunteer answer the question, the answer for question number 12? What is the difference between 11 and 12? Not much, right? Almost identical. There is a minor difference. For that minor difference, and looking at the graph, which is right there, we would be able to have an answer, less than 5 seconds. Let's say 10 seconds. Let's say less than 1 minute, 60 seconds. Who's going to be there to time us? Nobody. So as long as we can get the correct answer. Jacob, yes. All right. So we were working on number 12, Professor, and I was comparing with number 11. Basically, between 11 and 12 is not much different, but just a minor difference. And therefore, that minor difference makes a huge difference in answering the question.
Good, good. So, number 12, you need to understand the meaning of this symbol. Okay, we need to understand the meaning of this symbol. Okay, so let me put this on the think out loud part. This symbol means what? Less than or equal to. Okay, less than or equal to. The or, what's the meaning of or? The role of or refer to truth table. Do you guys follow me? This section of exercise, absolute value inequality solving, equation, and so on, is the real reason that I introduced truth table at the beginning. Okay, so less than or, right? We understand that. Do you guys still remember that truth table? A or B is true if one of them is true, right? You guys should have that on your flashcard. What is that truth table? True or true is true. True or false is true. False or true is true. False or false is false, right? Remember that table?
Mm-hmm.
This or refer to the or in truth table. Well, the absolute value of x less than or equal to 0. If you think from that perspective, right? That's just one of the perspectives. I'm going to talk about the graph too, right? Farouz is talk about from the graph's perspective, right? So this imply we want the input. We want the input and the rule of function, and we want the such that the output is less than 0 or equal to 0. So that implies what? Implies two cases. imply two cases. One is less than 0. And the other one is equal to 0. Right? It's or this case or that case. You guys understand? Less than 0 imply less than 0 or less than or equal to 0 imply less than 0 or equal to 0. And this case will never happen. Right? This is impossible, right? And in this case, we have a solution, don't we? So what is the solution? Do you guys understand the way the thinking in this direction? So the solution would just be x equals 0. That's it. There's only one solution here. Okay, so this is one perspective. Okay, this is one perspective. Or the other perspective as Farouz is used, right? You use a graph. You use a graph. You want to be less than 0 or equal to 0. What is equal to 0? Equal to 0 means that there's a cross, right? All these red, all these outputs in red, right? The vertical from the red. From this is output 0, output -1, output -2, output -2.5. There's no solution for all of these negative. There's only one solution. There's only one point of touching, which is equal to 0. So that point give us an input. This point give us an input. That input is 0. So only 0 make that true. Do you guys follow me? So that's from the graph. That's from the graph. Okay, so from the graph, you also have recognized the solution is such. It's just one solution only. The third kind, which I saw very often, and the student get on autopilot. Okay, autopilot. Okay, that autopilot will get them, what did they get them? 0 less than equals to x less than equal to 0. If you are here, you need to think about what is the implication. Do you guys follow me? The implication is that you need the number that's greater than or equal to 0 and less than or equal to 0 at the same time. So the key word is and here. And as referred to truth table. I saw this way of work often, but often the student just end there, just finish there. You should go further. Because this also tell you x has to be 0. Do you follow me? You're actually going to see something similar in calculus, but with limit. Okay, that is called squeeze theorem. It's an entirely different setting from this, okay, because it's taking limit. Don't get me wrong, okay? When you learn limit, there's a theorem called squeeze theorem. You also have a squeeze situation like that. And the consequence of it is x has to be 0. So if you do autopilot, it's not the end of the world. But you have to understand the implication of it. Do you guys follow me? You guys follow me? So these are the 3 major ways of doing it. Okay? Can we say for absolute value less than 0. Right, right. But you need to understand the meaning of it. And then Farouz has a summary there, okay? So for me, as a teacher, what do I expect the answer from the student? Just 2 lines. Just 2 lines. All of these is your understanding. All of these I explain here is to help you to understand. Do you follow me? You don't need to show these to your professors, but you need to know yourself. You need to know yourself. So number 13. Number 13. And number 14. So with what we've done with the previous, question we've done, what will be the answer for number 13? What will be the answer for number 13? What would that be? Hmm? Hello, where is everybody?
Would the answer be no solution
That's right. For which one?
for 13?
How about 14?
The same thing as well.
Exactly. No solution. Why?
Because absolute value of x is greater than or less than 0 for any x, meaning it can't be lower than any negative number.
Greater than or equal to x, right? For any real number. That's right. Do you recognize how powerful this statement is? Do we recognize the power of that statement? In these cases, okay, I do want to put a note here. In these 2 cases, if you just answer like this, perfect. You'll get all the credit. However, okay, I want to put a note here. Sometimes I see students do these autopilot thing as well. And this is what they do. Okay, they do autopilot. Okay, how do they do it? Right, they follow that autopilot. What they get this. I'm not promoting this way of doing it. I'm just seeing this way it's done very often. Okay, so if I don't hope you're doing this. Okay, I'm not hoping you're doing this. So sometimes the student will do this. They end up with 3 less than x less than -3. And then they turn it in. What do you think? And typically this student would not go further. Or they will turn around and say, oh, there's no solution, right? Or sometimes they will do something, I see all kinds of things they've been done. If you get to this point, it should have alerted you that such number does not exist. Yes? A number that's larger than 3 and less than -3, does that kind of number exist? If you find it, could you please let me know? So once again, we're back to thinking about the meanings that the kind of mathematics we write down, isn't it? So this means that the number you're looking for is between is greater than 3 and less than -3, how could such a number exist? I haven't found it in my, more than 50 years of lifetime. If you have found it, please let us know. You're going to shock the entire mathematical community. It doesn't exist, right? And this should allow you to take a second look of this inequality. Guess what you should do? Just cross them out and tell the reader no solution. If you have gone there, always remember, just if I have any parting words for you to give you as a present of a sort, okay? As I'm nervously anticipating my upcoming surgery, is always think about the meanings of what you have written down. Okay, let that be my parting present to you. Okay, always think of the meanings of whatever you've written down. Okay, so without further ado, I'm not leaving yet. I just want to leave you with an impression how important it is to understand meaning. Okay, so last 4. We are short on time. I might I want to take a little bit more of your time, okay? The first one, second one, third one, fourth one. With everything we have done, this is basic 6. What will be the solution to each one of them? Think of meaning, right? The meaning as function, the meaning as if statement. So what will be the solution?
Would it be any real numbers? Or
that's right. You got it, Jake. That's it. Because every real number, after we apply the rule of absolute value, the output will always be at least 0. Right? Perfect. I'm glad you got it. All real numbers. All real numbers. How about the second one? I'm so glad you guys are thinking. How about 13, 14?
For 13 and 14, there's no real solution.
13, 14, no real solution?
Oh, no, I didn't say that. I meant to say like there's no solution for number 13 and 14. 13,
14, no solution? Are you sure? Think again. I'm giving you the answer.
We can compare the number 14 basic 6 with number 14 basic 5 and see what's the difference.
It's larger than or equal to, not smaller or smaller than equal to. I think you get onto some kind of autopilot as well. Okay, think about it. The absolute value of any number is at least 0, right? So for any x, the absolute value of x is greater than or equal to 0. And 0 certainly is larger than -3, right? For any x, for any real number x, and this is larger than or equal to -3. Of course, equal is not possible, but is it greater than or equal to, right? So it's still the same powerful reason. Still the same powerful reason, okay? 12. What is the solution for number 12? What is it?
It would also be all real numbers.
All real numbers? Are you sure? Including 0?
No, it's no. Oh,
Hmm? All real numbers will include 0. The solution is all real numbers but 0. Right? Because absolute value of 0 is 0, we'll make it equal to. We want to be larger than, right? So in this case, right, all real numbers but 0. So what's the shorthand notation for that comment that Farouz put on there? All real numbers except 0. Okay? Does everybody understand?
mm-hmm.
So you cannot say, some people, I don't know where they learned this, right? But when you see negative numbers on one side for absolute value, there's no solution, or all real numbers. No, you have to look at the inequality. You have to understand the meaning, period. Do you think we understood this powerful sentence just a little bit better today? Do we understand this sentence a little bit better today?
Yes.
How many times have we used it today? How many times have we used it today? We used it literally for at least 10 questions, didn't we? Doesn't this make this sentence the most powerful one? Absolutely. Now you take a look at the graph again. You have a second look of the graph. Take a second look at the graph. Right? Take a second look at the graph. Now you look at this graph, it should be, you should look at this graph with some new light. Some new light in your eyes. Okay? Whew. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I hope I didn't
Thank you.
scare anybody.
Thank you, Professor.
All right, see you guys tomorrow.
Professor, I have one quick question.
Yes.
The one question is if I can come to office hours, but the thing is I have class at 9:45. So I was wondering if I can do it a little bit later, or is that not possible with you?
Oh, yeah, it's possible.
Okay.
Uh,
Would it be okay if I were to come around 11:30?
11:30, I'll be teaching.
Okay. Then what time would be best for you?
Can you do like at night?
I'm okay with doing it at night.
Say maybe 5-ish.
Yeah, that works.
Okay, so you just come to my office hours.
Okay.
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 If I forget, it's just pronto me.
Okay, we'll do.
Okay.
Thank you so much, by the way, for
Of
class.
course, no problem. Goodbye, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow.